Bird of Prey 5. El Caruga. Kapla.
I'm going to take this opportunity, however, to suggest that we all hail Caruga. That's all I'm saying.
Forgive me, Doctor. I'm receiving a number of distress calls. I don't doubt it.
Y'all remember to tip your waitresses. Have a mighty fine night.
If you come in peace, surrender or be destroyed. If you're here to make war, we surrender.
Both good. The important thing is I'm meeting new people.
When the appointed hour arrives, the Marauders will deactivate their cloaking devices and begin transporting Klingon shock troops directly to the landing zone.
Landing zone? Where? Tell me.
Why not? Your feeble weapons will be useless against us. We will kill all your males and take your females to mate with.
All right. Now the Federation's taking over, whether you like it or not. You people, you've been running this planet like a piecework factory. From now on, it's going to be under one roof. You're going to run it like a business. And that means you're going to make a profit.
Look at these 3 words written larger than the rest, with a special pride never written before or since. Tall words, proudly saying, "We the people."
Hi, I'm Nicole DeBoer. I played Lieutenant Ezri Dax on DS9, and I welcome you to Bird of Prey 5 channel. Hail Caruga.
Hello world, it's Bird of Prey 5 Kapla, and welcome to Bed Life for St. Patrick's Day, March 17th, 2023. It was a rough night. Okay, yesterday, obviously, I woke up to watch Star Trek Picard, and actually waking up like 2:30 in the morning. It was actually up earlier than I thought it would be. And that was fine because I planned it out, although I didn't really get the nap I was hoping to get. Anyway, I went to bed early, thankfully, last night, but I had hoped to sleep through the night. I woke up to alarms going off on my medical equipment, on my computers, pitch black in the house, except for the little bit of light that was coming from my Stream Deck, of all things. That was the only thing that had power because my laptop was closed. My external monitors had no power. So the only thing that had power was my Stream Deck. And my power had gone out, which it did, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, but it was the middle of the day. This is the first time the power has gone out in the middle of the night since I've had a ventilator and since I've had a ventilator. So yeah, I was always curious what exactly would happen. The alarm woke me right away. It took a couple minutes, or like a minute, for the generator to kick on. The computers had battery backups, but the battery backups, they alarm when there's no power going to them. And it was fine. I didn't mind being woken up. I really didn't. The generator came on, and I put in a ticket with Con Edison, the power company, to let them know the power was out. And Mama Prey checked around. Everything was okay. We could see the lights were out for the whole block, so we knew it wasn't just limited to us. And we pretty much gonna go back to sleep and deal with it in the morning. Well, took a while to get back to sleep, which was okay. But then the power company calls in the middle of the night at 5 a.m. just as Mama Frey and I had gotten back to sleep. And I knew I had been well asleep because I was in the middle of a dream, a decent dream. the Adirondacks property. We'll get to it later, but in a decent dream, and the phone wakes me up. Oh my God. And it's kind of going, oh, do you have power again? Just fucking let us sleep. Fine. But actually, we didn't. We did. Mama Prey says, yeah, I think we do. And then I'm like, Mom, I still hear the generator. And she listens, and sure enough, the generator was still going. So then she calls them back, tells them, no, we don't have power. She didn't matter. I said, did you tell them not to wake us again? He's like, no, but it was fine. So we go back to sleep, and I think again they call at some point, and at that point she's up, but I had not slept well, so I try to go back to sleep again. I wake up hours later, and I'm sick as a dog. Not sick like a cold, but see, when the ventilator pushes air into your lungs, and when you have bad sleep, you fight it. And like I found that when that happens, the air doesn't always go in your lungs. It sometimes goes down your esophagus, into your stomach and your gut, I assume into your intestines, and it builds up a bubble. And the bubble really makes you feel shitty, and you have a terrible morning, and it takes hours to burp that air out. And it was just, that was my half. It took me till really honestly just a couple hours ago for me to feel, quote unquote, my normal. And now I'm exhausted as heck. And I slept, but it was bad sleep. And my plan was to get up this morning like 7, 8 a.m. and start working on my 5 nitpicks for the recent Picard episode. And of course, none of that happened. And I'm going to be too tired to even get to it after the stream today. So maybe tomorrow, although there's also the possibility Sissopray might come, although unfortunately Sissopray has a cold, so she might not make it this weekend, which I feel bad for Mamo Frey especially. I miss Nephew O'Prey too, but Mamo Frey doubly so. So yeah, it's just been one of those days. I apologize for venting to you guys, but yeah, that's what I do. That's what I do. Not Ryan Johnson was first in the chat. Says hello and kapla. Hail Karoga. Hail Karoga. And he says, what's so happy about today? Because I called this happy St. Patrick's Day, and I'll grant you there's probably not a lot to be happy about, but some people like to celebrate. St. Patrick's Day was never my favorite holiday. Mamo Frey always liked to celebrate with corned beef, nice corned beef dinner for Mamo Frey, but now she can't eat corned beef. It causes her to feel dizzy, which is mighty awkward, but I feel bad for Mama Frey for many things. Not being able to eat one of her favorite foods is just one of the many.
All of it.
All of her favorite. Well, lobster you can eat.
Yeah,
Lobster you could eat. We just don't have a good lobster place nearby that delivers. And not Ryan Johnson says, if I can't drink at work today, it's not so happy. Well, sorry. Sorry about that, not Ryan Johnson. John Iraqi says hashtag leave birds garbage. That would be I'd be happy. John Iraqi says if Bad Robot could produce episode of Bed Life, how do you think they'd make it 25% different? Well, I would assume that there would be a race and gender swap for me, which is fine. I mean, you know. Then instead of Sassy being a dog, Sassy would be like a 12-year-old girl who also happens to be the smartest, you know, quantum physicist on the planet. Sorry, Yvette, but she'd be even smarter than you. It's the way it would work. And also, she would be a black belt in karate, jujitsu, and all the other itsus out there, because, you know, and a Olympic gold medalist in both swimming and, I don't know, cross country skiing, because she could go to both the winter and the summer Olympics. And also she would be, you know, Tilly sized, to show that despite your body shape, you can still do anything you want, even if that's be the best athlete in the world. Richie Poole says 3 Vach. Thank you, Richie. And Richie Poole says a Bad Robot production of Bed Life, Berto Prey would be a woman and Sassy would be a pit bull. Well, I think that's the Mirror Universe version of Sassy. If you remember in Enterprise, the Mirror Universe version of Porthos, instead of a beagle, was a Rottweiler. John Araki says hashtag trust no one, which to Admiral Picard means trust everyone. Trust everyone. John Araki said hashtag the salty vampire did nothing wrong. Well, that's unfortunate, as the salty vampire was clearly dead in the latest episode of Shorts Trek, the 1-minute Star Trek TOS episodes I edit. Check it out if you haven't. And John Araki with hashtag trust no one again. Or did I just read it wrong? Yeah, I read it wrong. John Araki says we need to install AI into Bird's bed to see if it will wage war on Alexa. I'm glad she didn't turn on. Hashtag Bird loves leaf blowers, says not Ryan Johnson. My God, yesterday, Thursday, just as I was starting to nap, the leaf blowers came out. You couldn't make it up. Couldn't make it up if you tried. LDG at hashtag free the net gifted a Bird of Prey 5 membership before the stream even started. Thank you so much, LDG. And John DeMarco, congrats. John DeMarco got the LDG free gift. It was at 2:18 p.m. Eastern today. Josh reads, his Bird is the start of Karogan Orphan Miners spring break. No, they don't there's no spring break. Orphans don't go on spring break. They'd have nowhere to go. Captain Fandom Nerd says, hello, Captain. John DeMarco says, greetings all. Greetings, John DeMarco. And John says, thanks for the membership. 54.5 Access Radio says, little known fact about St. Patrick. He banished snakes from Ireland by eating them. I did not know that. Josh Street says, place your bets on if Bird of Prey 5's Irish Aussie cousin shows up wearing a leprechaun costume. I would be quite surprised. I mean, you guys can see this, that red dot. What was Worf had? A gort? Yeah. I recently came back from the Baku planet. That's why. Just don't look at the red dot on my face. Josh Street says bets. Yeah, don't worry, no leprechaun costume that I'm aware. LDG Waves, welcome LDG. Josh Street says late Opry 5 is back. I was a little late. And Librarian New World Order donated $1.49 and says we didn't food prison you or anything to your power, but if you don't stop claiming Jeff is rigging games, we will make you stop. Don't turn your back on a librarian. I can't confirm Jeff is rigging the game, but somebody is. Maybe it's not Jeff. Maybe we were wrong. But somehow the game is being rigged, and I never met a librarian I could trust. Just saying. Every librarian I've ever met has been a shady character. Mama Frey, how many librarians have you ever met?
I have met quite a few.
Really? You have met quite a few librarians. I thought you would say 0, and I was going to say the same.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, you heard me mention my cousin, Marion.
Yes.
Well, her mother,
Oh.
Marion, my aunt, was a librarian.
I didn't know we had librarians in the family.
Yes, and in fact, she was a librarian in the library in my neighborhood growing up.
Mental note, don't insult librarians.
No.
We have librarians in the family. So, Professor, maybe a friends and family discount can be worked out. I'm related to a librarian. You're a librarian. Maybe you rig. Maybe, well, he's not selling anything, but I'm just saying if he's going to rig the game, maybe he could rig it in my favor. Now that he knows I'm related to a librarian. This was news to me.
Well, she passed away.
Oh, she's passed away.
You know,
She's
her mother.
she's gone to the big library in the sky.
Yeah, she was 93.
Oh, 93. God bless.
Yes.
A lot of books. You read a lot of books. 93. John Street says, Bird is late. Time to give LDG the memberships. Richie Pools says, where's late Opry 5? You don't want to know what I was busy doing, Richie, but you can guess. Miss Londell's Groovy Movie says, Kapla, Kapla, Miss Londell. Josh Street says, Richie, Mom Frey is trying to get Sis Frey to come over so they can get Bert Frey 6 to start the stream. You know, I have little doubt that next time he does come, he would be perfectly able to start the stream. Last night I heard he put Sis Frey's thermostat up to what, 83 degrees or something?
Yeah, and the night before he had set it on 50.
So he had set her thermostat down to 50 degrees the night before, and then last night he set it to 83. So Mom Frey heard, well, you know, how does he climb up to the thermometer, the thermostat? And Sis Frey says, oh, he doesn't climb. She gives him he takes her cell phone and he goes to the app and he likes numbers. So he goes to the app that has the numbers, which happens to be her thermostat app, and he plays with the numbers. So if she doesn't check it, that's what happens. Fodder Stomp with a £2 sterling super chat. Thank you so much, Fodder Stomp. Says, hey, been laughing all day since your FU out of 10 review. Thank you so much. I am so happy. You know, when I saw the review was an hour and 43 or hour and 45 minutes, I was like I almost deleted it and said, nobody's going to listen to an hour and 45 minutes. I just delete this and do like a 10-minute quick overview. And, I am so happy I didn't delete it because even if it doesn't get thousands of views, which I know it's not going to, but even the fact that 2 or 3 people have told me they've listened to it in full and they really enjoyed it, it means so much. It means so much to me that anybody listens to it in full. It's amazing. And I'm so happy that I could make some people happy. Because it's tough. It is I don't understand. What are these people saying? And I know some of you people who are here really enjoy it, and I'm happy for you. But for the love of all things Trek, I just don't understand. The only thing different about season 1 and 2 is that they were woke. They were way more woke. But other than that, it's the same bad Trek writing, in my opinion. And we know what opinions are worth. But it's like I see the same things happening over and over. I just don't see it how you guys see it. 47 Yorktown says hello, young Sarah Kapla. 47 Yorktown, and we got some shamrocks and some beers for St. Patrick's Day. Yvette says, good evening, Bird, and everyone. Good evening to the lovely Yvette. Josh Street says, hey to Yvette, how's the good old English weather treated you today? LDG is putting in 2222, reminding us all to speed up the stream to become as close to live as possible. Positive Candor, Kapla, Positive Candor says, why are Vulcans gangsters? Because it's logical, I guess. It made no sense to make Vulcan gangsters. And if you're going to make a Vulcan a gangster, at least make him a fucking logical, cold, calculating Vulcan. That's interesting. If you make him an emotional Vulcan, then you just have a human with pointy ears. What's the point of that? Yvette says, hey, Josh, guess what? It's raining. Raining in merry old England. Who would have thought? And it was raining for Josh Street yesterday. Not Ryan Johnson says, rest in peace, Lance Reddick. Reddick, is that how you pronounce it? I question, because I'll be honest, I don't know Lance Reddick offhand. American actor, The Wire. Oh, The Wire. Lance Reddick, most famous for his work on The Wire, Dead at 60. Rest in peace, Lance Reddick. I honestly did not know you by name. Matt G with a $1 super chat. Thank you so much, Matt G. Greatly appreciated. Famous for his work on HBO's The Wire and the John Wick movie, has died. Law enforcement sources told TMZ his body was discovered at his Studio City home Friday around 9:30. Cause of death currently unclear, but it appears to be natural. Sorry to hear. Well, Lance posted a self video on social media Wednesday, appearing to be at home with his dogs instead of attending the Wick 4 premiere in New York City, though he never mentioned why he wasn't going. He also worked on Angels Has Fallen and Godzilla vs. Kong. Okay, well, that's probably where I saw him. Well, rest in peace, sir. And thank you, not Ryan Johnson, for that update. Moxley fans, is Bird of Prey, Kapla Bird. Hope you and the family are doing well today. Hashtag it's not easy being green. Hashtag happy St. Patrick's Day. Yeah, it's not easy. Kermit the Frog. It's not easy being green. Words and pictures is Kapla Bird. Top of the morning to ya. May the luck of the Irish enfold ya. Let the shenanigans begin. Thank you, Words and Pictures. Jedi Bill, Kapla, brother warrior. And all hail Karoga, absolutely. Kapla to you, Jedi Bill. Donnie Pearson says, Bird of Prey, hello, Joe, and all. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Hope everyone is well, despite the passing of Lance Reddick. Absolutely. Moxley fan says, hashtag happy St. Patrick's Day. Hashtag it's not easy being green. Donnie Pearson says, yes, I did update my profile pic in anticipation of the Netflix special Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Once and Always, which is 33 days away. Very cool. JP's says, Bird of Prey, good day. Fine, sir. Top of the morning to ye. Sorry about the power outage and poor sleeping. Oh, thank you, JP's. Jedi Bill says hello to LDG. Words and Pictures says, sounds awful, Bird. What a rotten time you've been having. You know, after I say it, it's clearly not nearly as bad a time as it could be. And I kind of feel bad for even complaining about it, because I know some of you guys have had much worse weeks than I. But, you know, it just, the sleep, you know, we've all been there. The lack of sleep, it builds and it builds. And then you finally get to sleep and the phone rings and you're like, it's not their fault. They're doing their job. But really, do you really need to call somebody at 3:30 in the morning? I already called you. I told you the power's out. You don't need to call me to check on me. I mean, if I couldn't use the phone, well, obviously I wouldn't be able to pick up. If you make it through, then I could have called for help if I needed it.
If they don't get an answer, they will send.
Yeah, if they don't get an answer, they send the police. So, or at least they used to. Who knows what they do now?
They send now.
If we don't get an answer, they send somebody to rob you.
Yeah,
probably. Yeah, there's nobody awake at that house. It's good. It's good to rob. Mr. Lundell says, no apologies needed. Cut the stream short if need be. If you're not feeling good, get some rest. No, we're not there yet. But thank you, Mr. Lundell. Captain Fandom Nerd with a $2 super chat. Hail on Karoga. Thank you, Captain. And John Araki with a $1 super chat. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. I don't know about the hail on Karoga, but I do appreciate the super chat. Words and Pictures says, hey there to Bill. Cinnabon Bunny is here. Hello, Cinnabon Bunny. I almost made your stream last night on Twitch, but by the time I was finished contacting the power company, you had stopped streaming. I did make it to Anti-Druid of Jill's. She streamed in the middle of the night. So I made it there. It was an interesting stream in the middle of the night. Got to hear Antiderivative Jill curse a little bit. It's like, wow. I didn't think she knew those words. JV says, Bird, the mirror universe version of Sassy would be a cat. No, that would be that would be the mirror universe of Sassy. Thomas Potts says, Bird uses orphans as a floating inner tube. The problem, Thomas, is that the orphans generally don't float. You have to be overweight to float. You know, when you're just skin and bones, you don't usually float. Star Trek Nitpickers is little known facts about St. Patrick. He was an Orion. Yeah, that's right, if he's green. Richie Pools is Bird of Prey. Are you wearing green? Actually, no. Didn't think about it. I have a green shirt. It didn't even occur to me. I'm wearing Karoga gray. Thomas says, it's called the Gorch. That's what it is. Stop looking at my Gorch. And Thomas says, wow, Bird isn't wearing green. You have offended 42% of my DNA. Oh, shit. I've got something green, but I have something green. It's a Poland Spring water bottle. Yes, product placement. I'm as bad as Terry Metalis. Product placement here on Bed Life. A green Poland Spring bottle. Not Jameson, but what is? At least I'm not insulting Ireland by calling Jameson cheap whiskey. Cheap whiskey. Okay? Sir Patrick Stewart, the most famously British man on the planet, actor on the planet, decides to pull out cheap whiskey and pulls out Jameson, a famously Irish whiskey, as a big FU. So all of Ireland. You know what, Patrick Stewart? At least Jameson is a real brand. Okay, your Picard, whatever, Chateau Picard, that's not even real. And I know somebody really did make a wine and bottle it and call it Chateau Picard, but that's just somebody bought the name. They don't have a real wine. It's not a real winery. LDG says Bird is part librarian, apparently. Nitpicker, Star Trek Nitpicker says, yeah, put some green on, Bird. I can't just put green on. It's not that easy. I have a pair of scissors. I'll cut myself. I'm gonna say I could hold the pair of scissors, but I just end up cutting myself and or my bed. JP says the review was almost twice as long as the episode. Yeah, it was. Sci-Fi Nation says, greetings, Bird o' Prey, Mom o' Prey, Sassy o' Prey, and fellow nerds. All hail glorious Karoga, and of course, the God Emperor, Bird o' Prey 5. Kapla, Sci-Fi Nation. Captain Fandom Nerd says, I love the full review far more than the effing episode of Picard. Yeah, a lot of people. Thank you. I appreciate the kind words. Gorilla's Random Thoughts, Kapla Gorilla, says, Kapla all PS Bird. I'll give Bed Life a fuck yeah out of 10. Thank you, Gorilla. John DeMarco says, I agree. Picard is the same level of poor writing as previous seasons, just with more nostalgia bait. Yeah. Star Trek Nitpicker says, can't wait to see your review, Bird. Mine's out at 5 p.m. Very cool. I watched your 1 minute review that came out the other day. I clicked, I thought it was the full review. It turned out to be the 1 minute, but that was cool. I watched it. I hope to see your full length one. LDG of Free the Net with a $2 super chat says hashtag Picard, hashtag ships falling in space, hashtag synth mind meld. And he's puts the AI capital in Picard because LDG is convinced that an AI wrote all or part of the season. Thomas Bond says, if you don't like something, then don't watch. Simple. Yeah, but I can't not watch if they call it Star Trek. And Star Trek Nitpicker says, oh man, Lance Reddick was awesome. John Araki says, listen to Bird in full 2x speed. Well, that's only if you're behind, you can catch up. Gorilla's Random Thoughts says they'll send the guest. They'll send the Gestapo if you don't answer at 2 a.m. Well, it's under the guise of the fact that they know that I'm disabled and that there's life support equipment in my house. So they feel that if they don't send the police, then they could be sued somehow. Cody Guy is waving. Welcome, Cody Guy. Richie Poole says pinch Berto Prey 5. And Richie Poole says Jameson whiskey for everyone. Bird is buying. No. John Araki says Sam Neill says he had stage 3 blood cancer and may be dying. Oh, that's no good. I'm not sure who Sam Neill is. I will look him up. See, I'm very bad with names. Oh no, Sam Neill, he's the guy from Jurassic Park. He's the main scientist. The guy who looks through the dirt for dinosaurs. What is he called? Archaeologist? No. Yeah. Archaeologist? No, a dinosaur hunter. Yeah, I forget, but that's him. Sir Nigel John Dermont Sam Neill is a New Zealand actor. 50-year career has included leading roles in dramas and blockbusters. Considered an international leading man, he is regarded as one of the most versatile actors of his generation. He's 75 years old. Sorry to hear that. Although it's just a maybe. He maybe has blood cancer, so maybe he doesn't. Oh no, he does have it. He just may be dying. Well, I'm sorry. Oh, we're all dying. I hate to break it to you. We're all dying. Every day we live is a day closer to death. John Araki says hashtag put Bird to sleep. This is it. Don't try. Don't try. You might get me. Deej Odyssey. Welcome, Deej, this afternoon. All kapla, Deej. Donnie Pearson says good afternoon, Deej. Deej, why aren't you a moderator? When did you ask to take your wrench away? You were like my first moderator. How is it that you're not a moderator anymore? I certainly didn't take away your wrench, unless you had asked me to and I forgot about it. No, Deej says, hey, Bird demoted me, finally. Bullshit. I did not demote you. I'm adding you as a managing moderator. I don't know how that happened.
Well, I can tell.
Mama Pray, what? You demodded Deej?
No, I didn't. No. The last time Nephew O'Prey was sitting on your bed, he heard Deej say, not the father, and he did it.
Nephew O'Fray. Nephew O'Fray was angry and may have demoted you, Deej.
He might have done.
Yeah, don't worry. Don't worry, you're back, Deej.
Or I just made that whole thing up. One or the
No, I did not take it away. There's no way I took it away.
Yeah.
Donnie Fearson says, I did my before and after reaction to the season 3 premiere of Picard and Cobra Kai season 6 announcement teaser before that. It's a YouTube search away. Awesome, Donnie. Donnie, I'm going to give you a wrench too, Donnie. You can put the link in, Donnie. Put the link in, please, to your channel or to your videos so that people can just click on it and find it. It's much easier. Gorilla says, is the lighting or is your wrist really badly bruised? I don't see any. I don't see any bruising. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Paleontologist. Thank you, Richie. Richie says, Deej doesn't have a wrench. I can ban him. No, nobody's banning Deej. Deej says you took it away. Addie in stereo says Joe demoted me. I didn't demote you either, Addie. Richie says too late. Deej has been wrenched. And Deej says don't be blaming Charlie. I don't know who else. It was either YouTube or Charlie, because it certainly wasn't me. Is this right? Is this? No, this wrist isn't bruised either. The other wrist, no. I don't see. Maybe it's just the hair. It's all bony. Shadows, whatever. Jedi Bill says it was nephew O'Fray 4. I don't think it was. So, St. Patrick's Day, not my biggest holiday. I'll be honest. I never was a drinker except for that one trip I took to London where I drank daily and excessively for like 2.5 weeks straight. Other than that one trip, all my alcohol consumption in my life, even with that 2.5 weeks in London, I'm sure I've consumed 99% less alcohol than anyone my age. Perhaps except for practicing Mormons. And even them, I would suspect many of them cheated, when they were young, as humans ought to do. But I just, certainly for the average New Yorker, I've consumed far, far less alcohol than average. But anyway, so I don't really have a lot to say about St. Patrick's Day. I know it's a big party day. When I worked in the alcohol industry, obviously, it was a big day. We put a lot of money into advertising stuff for St. Patrick's Day, and making products for St. Patrick's Day, and going out to bars and trying to facilitate it was a holiday. It was like mini Christmas for the alcohol industry. But for Mom O'Prey, it was always a day to eat corned beef. So that's pretty much all I have to say about St. Patrick's Day. Instead, talk a little bit about a dream I had recently. And it was about the Adirondacks property, which technically I no longer own. It's been passed down to, not passed, sold to a new owner, a young family. They're taking over the property, and hopefully they'll have many, many happy years there. But a young local Caroga family, local to the area up there. Yeah. Anyway, the point being, though, I still have dreams, and in my dreams, I'm still walking that property, and in my dreams, and honestly, even in real life, the thing. Okay, this gonna come out. Gonna come out a little wrong, but just bear with me. Don't get hung up on the first word. Okay. I like to get my hands into virgin land. Virgin land. Okay. I wanna stick my hands in virgin land, dirt, soil, and dig. Okay. Just maybe with a shovel, sure. But even if I don't have a shovel, just stick my hands into dirt that's never been stepped on by a human being before. In all of recorded history, you tell me that no person has ever stepped on this 1 foot by 1 foot square of earth before. And I just instinctively want to start digging into it. There's just something about the unknown, like anything could be under there and we wouldn't know. There could be, okay, you say, well, if somebody never stepped on it, there's no pirate, right? There's no pirate booty. Okay, somebody could have buried, there's no buried treasure, but there could be gold, or there could be jewels, there could be diamonds, there could be bones, there could be could be like a fucking T-Rex, complete T-Rex skeleton, and its nose is just an inch under the dirt, and no one would ever know if they don't actually dig it and try to find it. I've always, I sometimes I would buy a shovel and go up to the Adirondacks property, and I would just walk into the woods and try to find a place where, nobody has ever been. I mean, if you think about this, we had 300 acres of property. Around the house, you figure there's got to be people. I mean, the house had been there since the 1800s. Somebody had walked somewhere all around the house, anywhere where there was flat land. I have to imagine somebody had walked on it, and they looked over, and granted, the topography, the trees were all different, 100 years ago. The trees that were there weren't there 100 years ago, but somewhere in the forest where the trees had been growing for hundreds of years, you figure going back to, people had been living in that valley, closer to the Mohawk River. People had been living there since at least the 1700s. Okay. The damn town is called New Amsterdam. It was Dutch. It was Dutch before even the English had come over. And before that, There were Native Americans, and God only knows what might have happened on the land that my family had owned, that I would be walking through the woods, and I could feel the history. I could feel what I felt like would have been Native Americans hunting and trapping, walking across. Not exactly where I was, but somewhere I could feel maybe soldiers not having a battle, but moving through the land, coming across, fighting the American Revolutionary War, or just, I felt like it was a path. I felt like the property didn't look like anything, but it was special at some time. And like down where there was this little stream, there was this wall of rocks. It was clearly somebody at one time had dammed this stream. It was a wall of hundreds of years old. It must have been done in at least the 1800s, if not before. And who did that, and why, and then who knocked it down? So many questions that never going to get answered. But those are the things that really made me think. Those were the things that kept me up at night. Now, in New York City, there is not one place in New York City do I honestly believe I could have been ever the first person to stand there, right? I mean, whether it was on my property or on a public street, there has been so many millions and millions of people all through the city, the outer boroughs, it didn't matter. Somewhere, someone had probably already seen what I was seeing, and it didn't hold any interest in me. But even as a kid in my own house, I used to think I would, and even Mama Prey doesn't know this because I never told her. I never really told anyone. I would sometimes, especially as a younger kid, I would get into a corner, or I would like, I don't know, kind of not, I couldn't stand on my head, but I would like lay back and put my head up against the wall, like as far as I could, as tight as I could, get into a corner, and then look across the room, just for the thought that, am I seeing something? Am I looking at this house at an angle that nobody's ever looked at it before? Nobody had ever seen this house the way I was seeing it for that short amount of time. That was the kind of thing that interested me. And the fact that then I could take that and do that on a scale of being outside and looking at the natural world in a way that nobody's ever seen before. I always found that exciting. And then, I mean, and this was New York. And then when I would go to the Southwest, and I'd pull off on the highway randomly with just desert on either side. And I wasn't going to go too far into the desert because I'm not an idiot. I didn't have a death wish. I just wanted to see something from somewhere that no one had ever seen before. So I pull my rental Jeep up on the highway, and I don't mean not like interstate. I mean like a national road or whatever. Nobody in any direction for 10 miles and walk across the road or whatever in the dirt. And I would be on the lookout for rattlesnakes and shit, because I I feel like I warn you, be warned when they warn you of rattlesnakes, take it seriously. So I'd be on the lookout, make sure there's no rattlesnakes. I think I heard a rattlesnake once, and I got the fuck out of there. But other than that, and I would go and I would say, you know what? Even though this road was paved over, 40 years ago, the chance that anybody stood right here on this, sand and looked at, whatever I was looking at, which was just more desert, I felt it was really remotely low. And every time I could see something new, I took it as a win. I took it as a win. What's the point of this story? I have no fucking idea. But that's what I used to like doing. That's what I used to be about. Something that I could set myself up, look at an angle that nobody has ever looked at something before. I'll get back to the chat. Antiderivative Jill says hello, hello. Antiderivative Jill, I told everybody about I didn't say everything about your chat, but I was at your stream overnight. Addie in Stereo says, fun fact, I've been to Joe's house and his background does not look like that. It's more of a rundown secondhand NCC 1701. I would take the NCC 1701, no bloody A, B, C, or D, any day, over. In fact, we could do it. We could, through the magic of the internet. There we go. NCC, no bloody A, B, C, or D. Thank you, Addie. All new. It's not animated, but it's something.
I do have a question.
Mamo Frey has a question. Yes, Mamo Frey. Mamo Frey has a question for you.
Yeah.
For any of you.
Anyone that may know.
For anyone who may know.
Okay. You mentioned it St. Patrick's.
Yes, I mentioned it was St. Patrick's Day.
Traditionally,
St. Patrick's dinner is corned beef and cabbage, but it's Friday during Lent. Now, does anybody know how the Irish Catholics deal with having St. Patrick's dinner? Are you still not supposed to eat meat on Friday if it's St. Patrick's Day? It's a good question. We'll Google it. If nobody has an answer. Well, somebody might have an answer. If anybody's a practicing Catholic, please. Otherwise, we'll Google it. Addie in Stereo says, Joe doesn't drink. He much prefers crack and speedballs. Antiderivative Jill says, Chief O'Brien is Scotty R-37's favorite engineer in Star Trek. Jim's Landscape LLC, Commodore Productions, says, hi, Bird and Donnie. Kapla, Commodore, was it Commodore Boone, isn't it? Commodore Boone, I think you changed the name. Commodore Productions, Kapla. Addie in Stereo says he's finally coming out. I'm not. The Traveler puts in all our custom emojis. Welcome, the Traveler. Cinnabon Bunny says nothing like fisting Mother Nature. That's not what I said. Richie Poole says, be careful where you dig your hands, bird. A cat may have buried its poop under there. Now, sometimes I use the shovel. Words and Pictures is laughing at Cinnabon, with Cinnabon. The Basco Scenarios is vertebrae. Great to see you, bud. Hope you're doing well, and thank you for all your support. Thank you, Basco. And I hope you're doing well, too. Jim's Landscape has a new video, or a news video, and puts in the link. And Basco says, I understand what you are saying. Thank you. Somebody gets it. Deej says, so fisting Mother Nature kept him up all night. And Basco says, hey to Deej. Deej says, hey to Basco. Deej says, I wish I could be around more for everyone. And we wish you could be around more too, Deej. Richie Poole says, yeah, Deej, where have you been? And Deej says, it's been hard to sit here in this chair, and typing isn't easy for me right now. Oh, Deej, I'm sorry. Basco says, Deej, hey, we all have things going on beyond YouTube. Do we? Star Trek Nitpickers and Vertebrae, I've thought about angles and point of view the same way. See, okay, I'm not crazy. Words and Pictures says, Explorer Bird with his original view of the world. I really enjoyed listening to that. John DeMarco says, a nice bright bridge. How refreshing. Thomas Bott says, Deej, what did Bird of Prey do to you? The Basco Scenario just says, potatoes. Oh, so just potatoes? That's eat on Friday for Lent. Deej says, beat me like he was driving Irish snakes out of the village. Yvette says, the Irish will always eat a potato. Thomas Bott says, Bird of Prey, our bishop said meat is okay for today. Okay, special dispensation has been granted. The Basco Scenario says, Yvette, lol, that's what I said. Thomas says, wow to Deej. Yvette says, I saw after I hit enter. Deej says, actually, I'm still dealing with this numbness or tingling in my hands and feet on top of the back. But hey, I'm not trying to complain. I might be called someone else, lol. You're welcome to complain here, Deej. Deej, Mama probably wants to know if you know what the tingling is caused by. Andy Garcia says, happy St. Patrick's Day. Wifey's name is Kennedy. Red hair, her alabaster skin, some freckles. Mom's maiden name was McDougal. Sorry about that, Mama Pray. Mama Pray still has a head cold. Mama Pray wishes a very happy St. Patrick's Day to everyone, and especially Andy Garcia's wife. Yvette says, Bird, what about the dream? Well, the dream was me walking around the Adirondack land, looking at it, looking down the grass at the property and contemplating, had anyone ever been here before? And Jim's Landscape says, I changed it. I'm not to use Boone anymore. And USS Ajax no more on Commodore Productions. Boone and Ajax owned by another production. Gotcha. Star Trek Nitpicker says, there are things beyond YouTube. I know, I'm shocked. Andy Garcia says, already started the Jameson corned beef and cabbage, watching The Quiet Man, John Wayne, Maureen O'Hara. Very cool. And Deej Odyssey says, my doctor tried to tell me carpal tunnel, but I looked it up and talked to a nurse friend and thinks it's neuropathy. Can't even see the specialist. until April 26th. I got you, Deej. Gotcha. Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't know which. I guess it'd be better if it was carpal tunnel. Not that either is good. Not that either is good. Anyway, let's see what's going on. Let's see what's going on today. We got the unfortunate news on Sam Neill. Today, March 17th, holidays is, of course, St. Patrick's Day, Campfire Girls Day, another day for girls, Doctor-Patient Trust Day. Oh, Deej, this is for you. Let us understand the importance of doctor-patient trust and how to create a better relationship. Evacuation Day and Evacuation Day in Massachusetts. We're a little jealous of all the Bay staters, all the Bay staters who get Evacuation Day off. I have no idea what Evacuation Day is. I have never heard of it. Evacuation Day is observed on March 17th. It's a public holiday in Suffolk County, including Boston, Massachusetts, and the U.S. celebrates the day when the British troops evacuated Boston during the American Revolutionary War. Boston was the seat of Suffolk County, where the various activities are held each year to commemorate the event. Evacuation Day is a day off for most people, with schools and most businesses closed for the day. The Dorchester Heights Monument, built from white marble, commemorates the events related to Evacuation Day. You know what? That is not a day they teach us at New York City public schools. My entire life, I have never heard of Evacuation Day. National Corned Beef and Cabbage Day. That's for Mamo Frey. I'm sorry, Mamo Frey. National Day of Action Against Bullying and Violence. Let's all prepare to join forces to create long-term solutions to bullying. The best way to prevent bullying is to learn that bullies are assholes. Okay? But generally, people have the right to be an asshole. Now, if they're physically bullying you, that's a legal issue, as far as I'm concerned. If it's verbal bullying, that's a lot harder. I was a victim. I don't want to say I was a victim, but I dealt with verbal bullying, and I don't think it's as bad as people make it out to be. Now, I know that's a shocking and horrible thing to say, because you're going to say, but this person killed themselves because they were bullied in school, verbally bullied or cyber bullied. But the problem is, the only way to fight that is to limit free speech. And I would err on the side of free speech. If somebody kills themselves because of their being cyberbullied or verbally bullied, I think that's a tragedy. I do. But I think we needed to work on preventing them from killing themselves, not on preventing somebody from saying something stupid and ignorant about them. It's National Preschool Teachers Appreciation Day. Seems oddly specific. Saint Gertrude of Nivelles. I can't even pronounce it. Can't pronounce that. Hey, it's World Sleep Day. The irony of ironies. The day that we couldn't sleep because the power company calling is World Sleep Day. Yeah, it's international. In case you didn't know that World Sleep Day was an international day, there it is. It says international. It's like the Department of Redundancy Department. World Sleep Day is celebrated every year on varying dates in March. And this year it falls on March 17th. How often have you eaten out over the last month? I don't want to take your goddamn stupid poll. Observation is found in the date ranges from March 10th to March 20th. Although the date varies each year, the day is celebrated always remains the same. The holiday falls on the Friday before the spring vernal equinox. The holiday is organized by World Sleep Day Committee of the World Sleep Day Society. The day was created to emphasize the importance of sleep and address common sleep-related issues that many people suffer from. Anyway, they're all crazy. Andy Garcia says thanks to Mom, and Maureen Kennedy sends big love. Thank you, Andy. Donnie Pearson says hello to Johnny, and Thomas says hello back. Donnie says thanks for promoting me. You are welcome, Donnie. Deej says, but hey, on the good news, truck is fixed. Lol. Hey, awesome, Deej. I hope you're up to driving. Mr. Trent, welcome, Mr. Trent, says sad about Lance Reddick. Yes. John DeMarco is doing fine, thanks to Donnie. Thomas Spots as well because it happened in Boston, not New York City. I know, but we learned about the Pilgrims up there in Plymouth Rock. You know what we didn't learn about in New York City public schools? Jamestown. I had graduated college before I knew that there was a colony in Jamestown, Virginia, that predated Plymouth Rock. Up here in the Northeast, you would think the first place, after Columbus, the first place the non-Spanish Europeans landed was Plymouth Rock. I had no idea Jamestown was a colony, an English colony, before the Pilgrims ever even existed. Just the way they teach things here. Deej's mass snowflakes think if you don't agree with them, it's bullying. Yeah. Grow a backbone and grow up. Hakeem says, I bully bullies. John DeMarco says, bullying is encouraged in the uranium mines to help toughen up the orphans. Deej says, so those on space stations can't sleep. They aren't on Earth. The Random Menace, Kapla, the Random Menace, says, greetings from the future. Am I late for Wordle? No, you're not late. In fact, it's time for Wordle. It's time for Wordle. So guys, the first person to throw out a 5-letter word for me to start Wordle with gets it. Somebody suggested that I should auction Wordle rights to Super Chats, but I will not do that. It will be first come, first serve. You gotta give me a 5-letter word. First person to get it in. That's the Wordle word I start with. And if you know the answer to Wordle, please do not tell it to me. Once I start Wordle, boobs. Boobs. Thanks, Deej. Thanks, Deej. Once I start Wordle, I stop looking at the chat. And of course, zero help from boobs. I guess I can look at the chat for a second word. Squid. Now, the S is already not, I know the S isn't used. I'll give this one more. I'll try squid. God damn it. Still no letters. Still no letters. Bingo, says Positive Candor. No, I can't do bingo. I already know the B, the O, and the I. I already know the B, the O, and the I don't exist. So, okay, I'm going to have to do my own word at this point. So, what are our vowels? A, E, I, O, U. So, we haven't used the A or the E or the U, but U is rarely the vowel. So, let's try a word with A and E that we haven't used yet. Meant. Wow. Okay, we've got MEA all in the right spot. We've got MEA all in the right spot. Feel like, let's see, it's not mean. Let's see. Mirk, mirk. That's not a word, right? No. Miri. That's not a word. Mirrors. Well, no, we know it. There's no S. Murf, merge, no, meege, no. Merge is a word, but it can't be that. Merg, merc, merle, merc. Okay. Maybe, let's see if we reuse the M. Mimi. Merp, MERS, merge, mer, me, mer. Let's see. It's for Mama Pray. Meal, milk, 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 mealy, that's a word? Okay. Mealy, that's feels cheap. I honestly have no idea. Mealy. Define mealy. Mealy, of, like, or containing meal. A mealy flavor. A mealy flavor. How's that burger taste? It tastes mealy. Of a part of a plant or fungus, covered in granules resembling meal. Mealy leaves. Of a person's complexion, an animal's muzzle, or a bird's plumage. Pale is dark in color, and mealy muzzle the Exmoor. What the fuck is this? Mealy muzzle, the Exmoor pony resembles the tarpan. Is this English? I mean, am I reading English? In its dark color and mealy muzzle, the Exmoor pony resembles the tarpan. What the fuck is an Exmoor and a tarpan? Okay, I got it. Tarpan. Define tarpan. A grayish wild horse, formerly common in Eastern Europe and Western Asia, exterminated in 1919. I mean, it's made extinct? Jesus Christ. Okay. So boobs. Thanks, Deej. Squid, not the greatest help. Positive candidate said bingo. Executive producer Sal Leibowitz said prick. Sorry. Richie Poole said older. Executive producer Sal Leibowitz said kapla. I've tried kapla. Saul, it doesn't take kapla. Thomas Potts says try email. Fuck email. Email's not a word. Richie Poole says Deej was no help. And Deej said sorry had a towel on my mind. Jesus. Deej. Deej, take away that rent. No, I'm kidding. Executive producer Sal Leibowitz says kapla is a poor Wordle word. The random menace says Thomas Potts, we ran out of sync since we did not change the clock. Rar retracted a message. Welcome, kapla, rar. Positive candor says alter. Jeff B says Mila. Lol. The random menace says trust me. Do Lyrica. Lycra. Well, too late. Positive candor says Mealy. I assume that was after I got it. Jeff B says meaty. Kapla bird, kapla Jeff B. Deed says mead. Yeah, like a mealy mouth. I've never heard of a mealy mouth. Thomas says bird cheated. Jeff B says way to go, candor. John DeMarco says bird is definitely not mealy mouthed. I'm not getting. Hakeem says I would have never thought of that word. Lol. I was just guessing letters. It seemed like I honestly didn't think mealy was a word. I thought it was just gonna shake. Richie Poole says Scotty referred to Anon 7 of NMR 7 as mealy mouthed. The random menace says mealworms are called in many languages flour worms because it looks like it. In German, flour is meal, so I knew what it was. No. Yvette says Exmoor is the moors in Devon. They have wild ponies that bite there. They have wild ponies that bite in the Devon system. Andy Garcia says, lost my leg shipping off to Boston, dropkick Murphys. And Yvette says, mealy equals tofu. That is nasty. That is nasty. Well, let's go head over to Dear Bop. I'm getting complaints, so don't do Dear Bop soon enough. Anyway, so let's see what's on the Dear Bop agenda for today. Dear Bop, you advertise Dear Bop on the thumbnail of your Monday and Friday streams. And while you've always done Dear Bop last, You've also added a lot in front of it. It takes a long time to get through. Today is National Day. You've got Wordle, a mop story sometimes. There's just a lot more in front loaded to the stream. Others may enjoy Wordle, the day, cuddlers.com, etc. I don't count myself as one of them, however. I get it. I do. From the feedback, though, I get, seems like more people prefer the other things that they would still happen first. And while I appreciate and will take into account anonymous feedback, just the heads up, non-anonymous feedback counts higher. It's just when I have a name to go with the feedback, it just means more. I'm not saying it's right, but it's the way things are. So you're perfectly fine. I do value your feedback. I truly do. And I would urge people who feel the same, if you want to give me more anonymous feedback, you can continue to do so. But the heads up is that this same message coming from a YouTube user in a chat comment would mean more. Because then I would know whether it's one person saying it 5 times or 5 different people saying it. You understand? So, just a heads up. I appreciate it. I get it. I really do. But for other people who want to give feedback, it means more when it comes from a username. And I'm not going to take it personally. Like if this was Thomas Potts or Deej or LDG or Yvette or anybody else, I'm not going to hold it over you. I'm happy to know what you're thinking. Kaplabird, hope you're doing well. Thank you, Pop Culture Curator. I hope you're doing well. The Random Menace is Bird. I watched the episode after your review, and I have the feeling you're hate watching with too much prejudice, but at least I'm getting great rants. You see, there is honest feedback from the Random Menace, who I love dearly, but I can tell him to his face that he's absolutely wrong. I promise you, Random Menace, I am not hate watching. I was so happy. I was so happy to hear. Honestly, I didn't give a shit about Robert Meyer Burnett. He's a good guy. I mean, I've got nothing against the man, but I really don't know all that much about him. So when he was all talking about how much he loved Picard, it was ignorable, easily ignorable. But when Dave Cullen and Nerdrotic had also said, holy shit, this is good track. This is because Dave Cullen put out a video like 2 weeks before the season started with a whole bunch of valid points as to how it doesn't really matter what they do in season 3. Picard is already ruined and nothing they can do could possibly fix it. And I agreed with almost every point he had. And then the next day, he puts out a video like, hey, I watched the first 6 episodes and it's actually really good. And everything I said before was wrong. And Terry Matalas is a genius. And he really, really found a way to fix Trek. And you're really going to want to watch it. And I'd say even more than Nerdrotic, when Dave Cullen put out his video, I was so happy. I was so happy. And I honestly thought that this is the way. This is going to be the Star Trek that's going to get us to be fans again, that this would be the way to patch things over. Discovery was going to end eventually, and maybe Terry Matalas could be the new showrunner for all Star Trek. And wouldn't it be nice to have good Star Trek again? It didn't even have to be great Star Trek. It just had to be good Star Trek. That's all I wanted was a fucking olive branch. And I was just so happy that there would be some positive Star Trek for the first time in a long, long time. And then I saw the first episode, and I was concerned, but I gave it a decent rating. I gave it an 8, the first episode. And I pointed out that the first episodes of the first 2 seasons were also pretty good things. I rated them very well. But I was concerned that they were playing it fast and loose with the canon. And then episode 2 came, and I was like, oh my God, this is, I don't know. Something seemed wrong. But the people who watched it watched, at least 6 episodes at once. The people who went to the premiere, they watched the 2 episodes at once. Most people saw the 6. So, okay, there's still time. But then the third episode, actually, I kind of liked. I was like, okay, the third episode got better than the second. But then the fourth was bad. And now the fifth, which Dave Cullen, I think he said it was his favorite. Oh my God. It's bad. It's all the problems that Picard had in season 1 and 2, except for being extremely woke, are back. Okay. And I'll be honest, being woke is not necessarily being bad. There is a difference. But being non-woke is also not being good. Okay, there is lots of things that are in existence that aren't woke at all, but still suck. And Picard, I'm not going to say it's not woke at all, but it's certainly not overly woke. And it's just bad. It's just bad writing. I could go off on so many things. And then there's the things I myself forgot about. And people who listen to my reviews, and some of these people, they write books of comments on things I forgot about. And I'm like, you're right. How did I forget? And it's like, okay, so Jack Crusher is the key to everything. And the shapeshifters or whatever want him alive, to the point that the shapeshifter tells Vadic that even if it means you guys have to die, you have to go in and get Jack. Which makes some sense. But in the second episode or whatever, the shapeshifter left Jack to die with the veritasium gas or whatever. That everybody thought was deuterium, veterium gas that was coming out because of the saboteur. And the shapeshifter pulled off Jack's mask, left him in the highly poisonous gas. And if not for Seven, who just barely saved his life, he would have been dead. And then they bring him to sick bay, and he also would have been dead if not for the miracle medical abilities of his mother, right? Had anybody else been doing him his medical revival, they probably would have just called his time of death. But Beverly was working on her son And of course, she wouldn't let that happen. And by miracle chance, he survived. So why would the shapeshifter leave him to die if the shapeshifters also need him alive? That is the epitome of bad writing. It's just bad writing. In one scene, they can kill Jack to make it seem like they don't need him. In another scene, they're going to put an entire crew's life in danger because they need him. It's just the epitome of bad writing. And yet, apparently, very smart people whose opinions I respect, like you, Random Menace, like Dave Cullen, like Nerdrotic, like so many people on YouTube, like other people, other friends of this channel, like Tokyo Trekker. He loves Picard. He loves Picard season 3. And I'm thinking, where the hell, where did it go wrong? What are you guys, when did you guys stop caring about good writing? I'm not saying that as an insult. I can't get past things like you can leave him for dead in one scene, but then you order changelings to their death to save him in another scene. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. It's terrible writing, and I don't understand how so many people are duped by it. But, isn't it good? Isn't it good to be able to debate Star Trek again? Isn't it good to be able to debate, to have meaningful debates over Star Trek again? So, no, I don't think I'm hate watching, but I appreciate the feedback. Donnie Pearson says, I'm mighty and morphin like a Power Ranger. Jeff B says, hail to Jim. Andy Garcia says, listen to nitpicks. Good stuff. Thank you. Unless you mean Star Trek nitpickers. He also does great stuff. Richie Poole says, there was a time a few years ago when some people wanted to get rid of Dear Bop. I'm glad we still have it. Thank you, Richie. Thomas Bott says, Bird of Prey will not send Uncle Paulie after anyone who has constructive criticism. That is true. I will not. The Traveler says, Dear Bop was the best lately. They haven't been the best. The Traveler says, we need to do better, Dear Bops. Donnie Pearson, Bird of Prey, well, it has been fun, but I must run. Thank you, Joe. Seeing you guys again later this evening. For others, have a great weekend. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Thank you, Donnie, and I'm sorry if my rant you left, but happy St. Patrick's Day. I assume later he probably means on Salty stream tonight. Sean Carter says Trek can simply not return so long as Bad Robot is involved. It just can't. Well, Bad Robot or Secret Hideout being different companies, but with similar people. The Random Menace is bye to Donnie. Jim's Landscape also says bye. Richie Boo says, The Traveler, the best thing about Dear Bops are bird answers, not so much the questions. When there is a question. But you're right, a good Dear Bop leads to even better bird responses. The Random Menace says, I have a feeling that Nerdrotic sold his soul. I don't think he did, but I don't know. I don't know. How so many, so it's weird. I think maybe the changelings really are taking over and they're replacing YouTubers. Bob O'Bray and I are going to get replaced one day. Star Trek Nitpicker says, I can get past Jack Left for Dead thing because they might yet explain it. How can they explain it? Nitpicker says nitpicks are good, all of them. Thank you. Sean Carter says, for me, Trek doesn't even deserve to be hate watched. It deserves complete and total apathy. I don't care how good season 3 is. And I get that. I do. Doomcock makes a very good argument for that. Personally, I disagree. I have to watch it because it has Star Trek in the name, but I understand. I understand that argument. The Random Menace says, Bird, I have a few nitpicks with the show. The bucket was a fail, but that biggest issue for me so far, but it does not destroy the whole experience for me. So you were okay with Picard casually using the F-bomb. You were okay with all the other nitpicks. I get it. Okay, I'm happy. I'm honestly happy for you. Deej says, to me, Picard season 3 is nothing but stealing from old plot lines, multiple Star Trek series or movies. It's boring, so predictable. Remember, I did call Shore's hate to Picard and 7. Star Trek Nitpicker says, maybe the changeling who left him for dead was not on Vadic's side, factions and stuff. Yeah. Okay, so multiple factions of changelings fighting it out. I suppose it's possible. The Random Menace is lol. Once I see you walking, I'll know you are a changeling. That's true. That's true. Miss Linda's Groovy Movies, The Random Menace. In other words, the show has gone from atrocious to semi-mediocre. So it's great. It's Star Trek. I'm just glad we have Trek again. Deej says, The Random Menace, how did you know the changeling just didn't copy Bird and the bed? And Nitpicker says, TNG was way better. Don't get me wrong. Okay, guys, I need a Gelogia break. I'll put up some commercials and we'll get through the rest of these dear bops with a fair amount of time to each. I'm not going to try to rush through them. So just give me 2 minutes. Be right back.
This week, Sears teams up velour and corduroy for a sporty look at a winning price. First, corduroy pants, a super value at only $8.99. The Fit Super, too, and you save $5. Snuggle into a rich velour top for just $12.99. The luxury of velour in a soft knit blend, and you save $5. The pants in assorted colors, the tops in crew V and boat neck. Hurry, this sale ends Saturday at Sears, where America shops for value.
Hey, right now, Loblaws is having a huge frozen food sale. You can get tremendous value on over 50 frozen food items, frozen vegetables, frozen meat entrees, frozen concentrated juices, ice cream. If it's frozen, you can save plenty. Don't get left out on the cold. Come on in and stock up that freezer. Loblaws frozen food sale. Another reason why more than the price is right. Does he work here?
If we lived in a world where all women were the same, they'd need only one shampoo. Clairol introduces 7 shampoos for the real world, where all women are different. Clairol Essence shampoos, each with its own natural botanical. Aloe Essence for extra body. Chamomile Essence for beautiful highlights. Ginseng Essence for conditioning. 7 Clairol Essence shampoos that make your difference beautiful. Clairol Essence shampoos.
This is drugs. This is your brain on drugs. Any questions?
It's yours?
No,
Your mother said she found it in your closet.
I don't know. One of the guys must have...
Must have what?
Look, Dad, it's
Where
not...
did you get it?
Dad,
Answer me. Who taught you how to do this stuff?
You, all right? I learned it by watching you.
Parents who use drugs
have children who use drugs.
Break free and feel. Feel how splendid you are with the fragrance created by Gloria Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt, a rich, expressive fragrance that reveals to the world just how splendid you are. Vanderbilt, let it release the splendor of you, Vanderbilt.
Okay, we're back. We're back. We're back at Dear Bob. Let me see. Check the chat one more time. Random Menace says, Miss Lundell, after Discovery, this is brilliant. I am the slowly cooked frog. Thomas Bott says, I'm enjoying the show. Sure, there are things that are stupid, but it's not all bad. I agree. You know what? It's not all bad. And if it was a sci-fi show instead of Star Trek, I would be enjoying it. What hurts me is that I can't enjoy the show without ruining Deep Space Nine. Okay? If all you had to do was scan for internal organs to tell a shapeshifter from a human being, then you're saying that Dr. Julian Bashir, the smartest doctor in Starfleet history, and Captain Sisko and Miles O'Brien were all idiots. They were all idiots, as was everyone else in Starfleet, apparently, besides Dr. Crusher. Nobody thought, hey, if we just scan for an internal organ, then we could tell if somebody's a shapeshifter or not, which is total and obvious bullshit. Okay? I know it doesn't make a lot of sense that shapeshifters would go through the trouble of copying internal organs, but apparently they could. And we know they could because they made Odo. So clearly they knew how to make a solid. They knew where to put the heart and the lungs and the kidneys, and even how to make the organs and the blood. They could do it. The only problem with giving blood was that once the blood was out of their body, it would revert back. If they could have kept even a hair connected to the blood, then they could have kept it looking like blood. So that's my problem. Okay, I can't move forward. Maybe you can move forward. I can't say, yeah. Oh yeah, they could have just used an X-ray. Today, if I needed an X-ray brought to my house, they can walk up with an X-ray machine, and they've done it, and X-rayed me laying here in my hospital bed. And in 10 seconds, the picture shows up on their computer, and they can see my bones and my organs, some organs. So why not just fucking X-ray somebody? If they've got bones, they're a human. If they don't have bones, they're a shapeshifter. It makes no fucking sense. Positive Candor says, Shatner. Yes, Mama Frey?
We told you that this Picard is written by a group of
Mama Frey
grade students,
says this Picard is written by a group of second grade students.
and they're all writing their own things.
And they're all writing their own story. Pleasant Valley Picker, Canada is lolling at the Shatner grocery ad. Richie Poole says that Shatner commercial reminds me of Galaxy Quest. The Random Menace says, I have a theory. Jack is not Picard's son. Beverly did not destroy the lamp. So Ronan is the daddy. A little Sub Rosa connection. That was an early theory of mine. Honestly, my current theory is that Jack is in fact part Borg. That's the only thing that makes sense. Picard was Borgified, and somehow they left a little Borg in him, whether it's an implant or just some Borg nanoprobes that got in the blood and attached themselves to a sperm cell or something, that Jack is in fact part Borg. Or Jack is a synth. Because honestly, Jack basically did what Soji and Dodge, whatever the fuck their names were from season 1. They went all synth and they became killing machines. So I don't know. Everybody says, oh, forget about season 1 and 2. They have nothing to do with season 3. So I don't understand why people would say that when it looks a lot like he's a synthetic. But I would guess he's part Borg. It's the only thing that makes sense. John DeMarco says watching paint dry would be brilliant compared to Discovery. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Pleasant Valley Picker says, I didn't hate the episode for still it's not Trek. Exactly. Random Menace is John because it's more compelling plot than Disco. Obviously, yes. And John DeMarco says, true. Paint drying is much more compelling plot. Pleasant Valley Pickers is still mediocre writing at best. I agree. Thomas is Bird of Prey. It's decades later. Maybe they couldn't tell with a simple scan 30 years ago or however long it was. Yeah, but they're not saying, they literally said a simple scan, I believe. Like a scan of organs. They're not saying that, it would take one line to say, our technology has gotten a lot better in 30 years. We couldn't detect them before, but now we can. Just say that, okay? Just please say that. Pleasant Valley Picker says Metalis may understand the appearance of Trek, but he does not understand the substance of Trek. I would agree. Richie Pools his deed. You should see Shatner in 1965's Incubus. It's fortunate for him that Star Trek came along. John DeMarco says 7 says they have been doing the scans since the Dominion War. It doesn't fit with DS9. And Thomas says since after. Yeah, I think they did say after, but either way, it just doesn't fit. The Random Menace's Bird, do you realize they put 20 plus years of research of changelings and still got surprised that they behave differently from what they know? It doesn't even make sense, Random Menace. What the fuck is intense or intensive dissection? Or what did she say? Intense dissection? You dissect a frog, you cut out its organs. Why the fuck would cutting into an organ be any different than cutting? You can cut the organ out of the body and the organ will maintain its shape. But then you cut the organ and it turns into fucking jelly. It doesn't make any fucking sense on any level. Just the entire word, intensive dissection, and only under intensive dissection does it change. What the fuck are you kidding me? Are you kidding me, Beverly? Intensive dissections. Thomas Potts is the Borg had super nanites or sperm nights. Sperm nights. Yeah, I think they did. Pleasant Valley Pickers has nothing to do with season 1 and 2. He's still a replicant, isn't he? Yes. Miss Londell says, I could see Jack being half Borg. When Jean-Luc went up in Beverly, his sperm load had a couple of nanites in there. They just mixed with the sperm. 9 months later, Viola Borg baby, mama drama. I just hope that it's Borg related and not profit wormhole alien related. Because the only other thing that it reminds me of are the visions that Cisco was having. John DeMarco says, why is the crew so surprised that changelings can fake a blood test? The changelings could do that 20 years ago. Exactly. Exactly. Yvette says Terry Metalis equals chin balls from Doctor Who. Thomas Potts says, DeMarco, I heard people complain that Picard and Riker and Jack even know what a changeling is. Well, that I wouldn't complain about. Obviously, they need to know. The whole of Earth, all of Earth was on lockdown because of changelings. Everybody on Earth knew what a changeling was. John DeMarco says, well, anyone in the Federation would know what a changeling is after the war. Exactly. Stan Lee says, maybe they severed the cell wall. And Stanley says, damn, Picard had a BTD. Picard wasn't smart enough to pull out. You see, that's another thing. You're telling me that Beverly accidentally got pregnant? That in the future, they don't have birth control? I mean, we have birth control now. That's 99.99% effective. You're telling me in the future, they don't have 100% effective birth control? Especially an 80-year-old, a 70-year-old guy at the time, and a 50-plus-year-old woman. And Mom said, well, maybe she didn't want to be. So she purposely got Picard to knock her up.
Don't talk to me about it.
Star Trek nitpickers, you're making Mama afraid, man. You never liked him in Picard.
If you like him as an actor, you don't like him as
You didn't like him as an actor or as a man.
right. And he was younger than
That's how you really feel, Mama Frey.
Yeah, I will. He was younger, and I still couldn't see any woman going to him.
Oh my God.
I'm an old lady, and he's an older man, and my God, he still turns me upside down.
Mama Frey says it's unbelievable any woman would find him attractive.
Then and now.
Yeah, but Beverly, you don't think she's particularly attractive either.
Now, no. She was
Nah,
attractive,
she was attractive in TNG.
but whatever she did to her face,
Whatever she did to her face. You know.
it's scary.
Intensive dissection. Yes, thank you, Pleasant Valley Picker. Intensive dissection. Sean Carter says the Borg supermarket got to the egg and said to the others, the line must be drawn here, this far, no further. Stanley says, oh, does Picard never pull out? Thomas Potts says, even though I like this season, it wouldn't surprise me the explanation about Jack will be stupid. Star Trek Nitpicker says, Rafi didn't know what a changeling was. Rafi was on drugs. Rafi was on drugs during the Dominion War. She was high. She was shooting up. She was shooting stuff into her eye on Metalis Prime during the Dominion War. Stanley says, how do changelings mimic organs? Guess they had to do research on humans. Well, they did. I mean, don't forget, the Dominion had all of the entire crew of the Defiant hooked up into their machines the very first time they met. The very first time Odo found his people, the crew of the Defiant was being held in a changeling thing on their planet, and they were running mind games on them. I'm sure they did scans of their physiology. Not to mention how many, war prisoners of war they probably experimented on. Thomas says she was probably really high during the war. Bev and Jack are androids, says Star Trek Nitpicker. Somebody else did bring up the fact that Beverly herself might have been a synth. Sean says Cisco was on birth control on DS9. What was he? And he even know him and Cassidy's baby was an accident too. I don't remember that. The random menaces, but Cisco's part, profit. So, if he was meant to have a child, he was meant to have a child. The random menace is bird. If you take out of the brain or the gallbladder, it stays whole. Cut into it, it goes to goo. All brains in jars are chemically stabilized. It doesn't go to goo immediately. Ms. Lundell says the turning out to be they wanted a changeling story, but there's a pesky 25% different policy. That's what you got, changelings with blood streak guts. And they have the Odo bucket. I admit these changelings are clearly 25% different, if not more so, but I honestly don't think for this season there had to be a difference. If there had to be a 25% different, then they wouldn't be using Odo's bucket. They'd be using a bucket 25% different. Stanley says women don't get menopause until 70 in the future. I mean, that's possible, but it doesn't make a lot of sense. Yvette says, what if Jack is really lore? That would make no sense. Thomas says, maybe Beverly thought Picard could only shoot blanks at his age. She's his doctor. She should know what he's shooting. Richie Pools with Bird of Prey. Maybe the right wingers in the future will be successful in eliminating birth control. Maybe, Richie. Maybe. Deej Odyssey says, what if Jack is really Riker's? What if Jack is really Riker's baby? Stanley says the changelings don't need to touch something to take its shape. That's true. Richie says, I think Deej is probably the father. Deej is actually Jack's father. Deej says, I am not the father. I did not have sexual relations with that woman in the blue uniform. Pleasant Valley Picker says, wouldn't the crew on the starship all be on birth control, dangerous enough in space without pregnant ladies risking their unborn baby? You would think it. Star Trek Nitpicker says, Stanley, it was evolution, according to Beverly. Ms. Lindell says, I don't know about anyone else, but the whole Rafi on drug things smacks of sexism. Why are all women drug addicts? Deej says, nah, they had babies on Voyager. That's true. Well, on the Enterprise D, they had families. Clearly, they weren't, worried about not getting pregnant. But, on a warship, or it depends. It depends on the mission of the ship. Richie says, we started Dear Bop a half hour ago and have only done one Dear Bop. We'll get to him. Deed says, Miss Lundell's racism is the minority character that's strung out on drugs. Sean Carter says, when Cassidy said she was pregnant, she said to Cisco, you must have forgotten to take your shot. That's right. That's right. He admitted it, though. He admitted it. Positive Candace is so much the Dear Bops. Instead, it's the Borg O Prey hour. Sean Carter says, Picard to Crusher, stand by, Bev. I'm going to get you and Jack off. Static. Jean-Luc, please repeat. I'm going to get you and Jack off the ship. Miss Lundell says, this sounds like a great topic for the backstage. And that's the LDG backstage at freethenet.org/underground. Stanley says Beverly was sleeping around. saying Picard should ask for a fraternity test. He probably should. Words and Pictures says it's all going to turn out to be a Pamela Ewing dream, and Beverly will go to the shower, and Kirk will be showering, and he's the father. Todd Jenny, aka T-Berg, is in the house. Says, "Oh, workshop." I don't know. Dallas? What? I don't know what that was about.
Dallas. That was the end of it.
Oh, that was the ending of Dallas. I didn't know that. Okay, let's move on to our second Dear Bob. Dear Bob, no offense, but what if, no offense, but if I was a morbidly obese, bald, fat fuck stuck in a wheelchair, I would have killed myself. Why haven't you? First off, I would love to be stuck in a wheelchair. I'm stuck in a bed. A wheelchair, I'd be mobile. That said, I still have more to do. Listen, I look out at the internet and I see so many people who are so wrong about so much. And it's my mission from God himself to correct the world. I need to correct everybody. So until that mission is done, I cannot rest. But thank you. Thank you for the support. Dear Bob, I unsubscribed from Nerdrotic. His channel has been sucking lately. The dick pics on FNT was bad enough, but he also spoiled Picard by putting Ensign Rowe in his thumbnail before the episode even aired. That was a dick move. I canceled my membership too. I am still a member of yours. Hail Karoga. Okay, I love Gary. I do. The dick pics on Friday Night Tights, that was a bit much. But to be honest, if you're watching Friday Night Tights, I seriously doubt you cared that much. I mean, you're not watching Friday Night Tights with your 8-year-old kids. So, now putting Ensign Rowe in his thumbnail before the episode aired, that's news to me. I did see it, but it was after it aired. I mean, it aired at like 2 a.m. Eastern. And, early in the morning, like 7 a.m. or something, he did his stream. So I did notice it, and I actually watched part of his stream, and he did mention that he really considered the thumbnail, but somebody on Twitter had already tweeted out that Ensign Rowe was the surprise character. So according to Gary, he felt, well, since it was already out on Twitter, it was okay for him to use the picture. Frankly, I listen, it's not my channel, but if Gary had asked me, not that he has any business to do so, but if he had asked me, I would have said, no, you shouldn't. I considered putting Ensign Rowe in my thumbnail too. Obviously, it was the first thing I wanted to do, but I said, no, it's not right. People who have jobs, people who can't watch the show at 3 a.m. Eastern, they, even though I don't particularly care for the show, I wouldn't want to I wouldn't want to spoil it for somebody. So I purposely didn't put any mention of Ensign Rowe in the thumbnail. And yeah, I'll be honest. If he had asked me, I would have said that was a bad idea. Um, and that's what gets me, is that he actually says he loves the show. He's really loving this season. Like, if he hated this season, I would totally get it. Like, there's nothing to spoil. If it was Star Trek Discovery, there was nothing to spoil. So if they put Ensign Rowe on Star Trek Discovery, yeah, I'd put that in my thumbnail too. Fuck, who cares? But the fact that he really likes this season and he didn't give a shit. I mean, he did, but like, he mentioned somebody on Twitter did it, but it was a name I'd never heard of. I have no idea who this person was. So just because this person put it in their tweet, and it wasn't Terry Metalis, it was someone else. But because they put it in their tweet, that doesn't make it okay to put it in your YouTube thumbnail. All that said, Gary changed my life. Okay. Gary Nerdrati, he changed my life. And I would never suggest anybody unsubscribe from Gary. The man changed my life. I'm a subscriber of his. In all honest truth, just so you guys know, I'm a paid member, not high up, but on one of the lower tiers. I am a paid member of Gary. I do generally enjoy his content. But you know what? Whatever you feel you got to do, you got to do. I personally, if the thumbnail really upset you, I hope you left him a message in that video that, hey, Gary, this was a bad call. You spoiled it for me. You don't have to go and say I unsubscribe from your channel. You can if you want, but just tell him, leave him a message, let him know that you got it spoiled, and ask nicely he not do that again in the future. That's just the way I would do it, but it's up to you. I did see the thumbnail, and it wasn't his best decision, but he is overall, even despite his opinions on Star Trek Picard Season 3, and despite that Friday Night Tights, I still think he's a good guy. Listen, people make mistakes. I hope I'm not judged. If I'm judged by my worst day, then nobody is going to be a member. If we all get judged by our worst day, none of us would ever have friends. None of us would ever have businesses. None of us would ever get anything done. We would have no social interactions at all. The entire season of Dallas was a dream, says Richie. Deej says died under the bridge. Richie says Kirk in the Nexus. He can just pop out into normal space-time when he needs a little action. Star Trek Nitpickers has got plot of Michael Sullivan. Oh, hey, Michael Sullivan. Michael Sullivan says this stream is exactly what I need on a Friday afternoon that leads to St. Patrick's Day. Drinking. Kapla, Michael Sullivan. And he says, howdy, Star Trek Nitpickers. Love watching your videos, Kapla. And value of nothing. Also unsubscribed from Nerdrotic. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. Star Trek Nitfigure says some dear bops are BS, huh? I mean, people use dear bops for venting and lots of things. I try to prefer they be ask for advice, but sometimes they're used for feedback, and sometimes they're used to rant about other things. Now, I don't take dear bops that go after particular people, in a mean way. I don't consider this here to be mean. It's unfortunate, but it's not mean. If it was mean, I wouldn't read it. Mr. Londell says getting your panties in a twist over a thumbnail is a bit much. Yeah, I get it, but Mr. Londell, imagine it was a good show. Like, imagine it was best of both worlds, and you were watching it for the very first time, and in your YouTube feed, you see Captain Picard as a Borg before you ever watched the episode. That would be kind of, it would be mildly annoying, at least. It would be a spoiler. It was meant to be, a surprise. Positive Candor says, are you into Quirtle as well? No, Positive Candor. Mom will pray once in a while, but not. No. The Random Menace says, I consider Nerdrotic unbearable. Same with Doomcock. I haven't watched their channels for years and do not plan on changing that. Well, I think you're definitely missing a lot of fun on Friday Night Frolics. Doomcock is a very entertaining person when he's singing and doing jokes. And I can understand the videos about Kathleen Kennedy they're not everybody's cup of tea, but his Friday Night Frolics, that's just that's good fun. That's real good fun. Mama Frey enjoys them too. Thomas Spot says, Deej, did you see Phil was in this week's episode? Yes, Philip Gaming. Our own Philip Gaming was one of the Vulcan henchmen in this episode of Star Trek Picard. Todd Jenny says, it's okay, Bird. I judge you by your actions on an ice lake in Space Engineers 4 years ago. Richie Poole says, if you don't want spoilers, it's better not to watch any social media talking about the show before you have a chance to watch the show. And Richie, that's the whole point about the thumbnail. You could never have clicked on it, but the way YouTube works, your thumbnails of the video of the channels you like are front and center. So if I just opened YouTube that morning to see what was going on, I would see Ensign Rowe in a thumbnail and be like, I guess Ensign Rowe was on this last episode of Picard, without ever watching the video. I'm just saying, I get it. I wouldn't do it, but very hard to say, don't go on social media at all until you watch a TV show, when you might not be able to watch a TV show until you get home from work at 7 or 8 o'clock at night. Todd Jenny says, I guess we're heading to Antarctica. Dee says, Thomas, I saw his tweets. Haven't seen the episode yet. Nitpicker says, did you see my Bat Track short? It's dumb. I don't know if I have yet, but there's the link. I'll check it out later. Did you watch South Park's Patty Day episode last year? Probably Gorilla, because I think I've seen all the South Parks except maybe this last one or two, but I don't recall what it was about. D says, at this rate, we won't get through Dear Bob's till next week. Value of Nothing says, still enjoy Mauler Little Platoon, Disparu, Mrs. Brown, Drinker, etc. Critical Drinker, yeah, is another one I watch. The other ones, a Mauler I've heard of, but not somebody I watch. Nothing against him, I just never got into it. Those other ones, I'm not sure who they are. Dear Bob, what bank does Karoga use? Are you worried about your banks failing? I mean, I'm worried for the country. I'm worried for the country and the world about banks failing. But more personally, I use a very big bank. And if they failed, it would be pretty much the end of civilization. So we would have way bigger problems. It's a shame. It's a shame. I used to really like small banks. I used to really like small banks. But now I don't think I would take the chance. I don't think I'd take the risk of putting my life savings in a small bank. Not that not that I really have life savings, but for somebody who does, that's it's a tough call. My first bank was E-Trade Bank. Well, no, technically my first bank was Banco Popular. It was the only bank that would give me a checking account before I was 18 years old. But then once I got a job, I got an account with Chase Bank, which is like one of the biggest banks out there, if not the biggest bank, because my boss, who was the billionaire, had his accounts with Chase Bank. And so I knew people at the branch, and they knew I knew him, and I would come in from time to time to take out money for him. I used to take, oh my God, there was time where I had to go take like $100,000 in cash out. And like, I went with a second employee, but being I was the 6'4" huge, man, and she was not neither 6'4" huge or a man. I was the one actually carrying the money, but just in case we were being followed, she was carrying a big empty bag where I had the money taped to my body, just to get it from the bank to my car, and my car to the office building. Then once we were in the office building, I took the cash off of my body, and then we mailed it, we FedExed it to San Diego. And then I headed to the airport to get on a plane to beat it to San Diego to go to his house. I pulled up to his house at like 6 a.m. San Diego time and waited for FedEx to deliver the cash. Those were the days, as Captain Picard said. Dear Bob, what could be more ridiculous than a thuggish Vulcan? 3 thuggish Vulcans. That's true. It wasn't just one. It wasn't just one. They were all Vulcan thugs. And then, the guy said, Kryn says him and Sneed grew up as brothers on Metalis Prime. Yet when Worf was going through his suspects list, it said Sneed of Ferenginar. And notice it didn't say Kryn They didn't say Kryn of Vulcan or Kryn of Metalis Prime. They had absolutely no data on Kryn. But one of the things Kryn was wanted for was escaping prison. So Kryn was arrested at some point. So somewhere, some prison had a picture, a photo of him. They knew all of his details, but for some reason, none of that was visible. You didn't even know his species. And yet, Sneed, they said he was Sneed of Ferenginar. But even though he was a Ferengi, he doesn't mean he grew up on Ferenginar. They specifically said that he was of Ferenginar, which I take it to mean he was born or lived on Ferenginar. And yet, in this episode, because it means something, he grew up with Kryn on Metalis Prime. These are the things. These are the things that take me out of it. I'm not going to go on another Picard rant, but Nitpickers is Chase did business with Nazis during World War XI. Oh, two? World War II. Well, so did the Swiss. And I still eat their cheese. And it's nice and delicious. Todd Jenny says, I thought Bird would be Wells Fargo. No, he's a stagecoach. Deej says, okay, I'll finish this later. Bird, need to go rest. Take care. I'll take care, Deej. Feel better. Miss Lundell says, Mortalis Prime is the hood. Yeah, it's like the worst planet. Dan Ben says, do you think Wolf pronounced the Ferengi homeworld correctly? I assume you mean Worf. I don't know. Did he say Ferenginar? I don't honestly even remember him saying the word. I remember him reading it, the computer. The computer had it on the screen. I don't remember him saying Ferenginar. Dear Bop, it's not easy being green. Kermit the Frog. That is a quote from Kermit the Frog. Dear Bop, last bed life, you wanted to change it because they only come to bed life. For me, I come to you, not just one segment. Do your stream how you want it. I enjoy all of your stream because it makes the end of work day go by fast. And you should do bed life every weekday. Oh, thank you so much. If the day comes where I start feeling a bit better, I might do bed life another day. I used to do them on Wednesdays, I think, too. Then Wednesdays become Enterprise Wednesdays. No promises. I do appreciate the thoughts. I'd love to do bed life more. It's just I don't have the time, and I'm not always feeling up to it. Dear Bob, we are starting Time Clock, the TV show, next Wednesday. I want to make a catchy thumbnail. What is something I could put on it for the thumbnail? I am not familiar with Time Clock, the TV show. I'm sorry. I would just I'd put a picture of a time clock, I guess. Would Google Time Clock TV show and see what comes up. And John DeMarco says, who could forget about that classic example of logic? You can't have utopia without crime. Says who? Says who? Cybok? Value of Nothing says, were all those drug dealers in the Federation, or was their planet outside the Federation? And if it was inside the Federation, why are people doing drugs in a post-scarcity society? Exactly. I imagine it has to be inside the Federation for Starfleet to build a recruitment center. Why would you build a recruitment center outside unless you're trying to get people to join the Federation? Like you're gonna build a recruitment center in the fucking ghetto so you can recruit all these drug dealers and low-life criminals to turn their lives around by joining Starfleet? No, that's ridiculous. That's just terrible writing. Like there's also, let me guess, there's a Starfleet recruitment center on Tasha Yar's home planet. And Dan Brand says, yes, they also had the names of Morn and Brunt on the computer screen. Yeah, I saw that. They had Morn. Now Morn did steal money from the Lesepian Bank or something. So I could understand Morn, but they had Brunt of Ferenginar. And they also had that that captain, Thod, whatever. The captain, he was on lower decks. He came on the Enterprise D and, had his way with a whole bunch of women. Riker got jealous of him. What was it? The Amazing Thaddeus or something? I forget the name. John DeVago says, your pain runs deep, Bird. I have to share my pain. Thomas, he's spending an average of 4 minutes on each Dear Bop. Dear Bop, Tetris, rated R. Interesting. I can picture it in my head. Dear Uncle. Uh-oh. Nephew O'Prey here. I just need to speak up and say something about the way you treated poor Deech and took his wrench away. Remember that you said to me and Sis O'Prey that you were tired of Deech's shit and you were going to teach him a lesson. Then you got on the stream and totally deal with Joe Biden about it. Not cool. I hope this isn't a sign of things to come as I grow up. Nephew O'Prey. I have no recollection at all about how Deej lost his wrench. I promise I did not do it. Dear Joe, Irish O'Prey writing to you from Dublin, Ireland. Yes, it's your crazy cousin, Daniel DiBiase, who the family calls the Black Sheep. I just want you to know how disappointed I am. You are not wearing the green today. We're a disappointment to the family. You are, you bugger. Never ask me for anything again, as we are no longer relatives. You can kiss my Blarney Stone, you no good hairy leprechaun. Daniel D. Boy. Boy. Mom O'Prey is laughing. I actually have a cousin, Daniel, but he is definitely not from Dublin. And I highly doubt he would care if I was wearing green today. I actually am a little annoyed. I didn't think about wearing green today.
I forgot. I'm sorry.
Mama O'Prey forgot. It's okay, Mama O'Prey. You did. You asked me which shirt, and I said whatever. And you suggested gray Karoga. And I was like, that's fine. And dear Bob, to answer your question from CBS News, Can Catholics eat meat on St. Patrick's Day? Some dioceses grant dispensations. St. Patrick's Day this year coincides with Lenten Friday, when Catholics tradition. No, fuck you. No, a pop-up came. When Catholics traditionally abstain from meat, but after several dioceses across the United States granted dispensations, some Catholics will be able to indulge. The Lenten loopholes have been granted in a number of cities, including Boston, Washington, D.C., and in both of the dioceses covering New York City. Yeehaw! Let the meat flow. This year, the Feast of St. Patrick, the patron saint of our archdiocese, falls on Friday during Lent. Given the importance of this feast and the life of the archdiocese in the lives of many Catholics, Cardinal Sean is granting dispensation from the Friday Lenten abstinence on March 17th to those who wish to take advantage of the opportunity. The Archdiocese of Boston wrote in a statement, "This is a one-day only dispensation," which means if you buy it today and you don't finish it, you can't have leftovers next week.
But you get that tomorrow.
The dispensation will allow Catholics to eat classic St. Patrick's Day meals like corned beef and cabbage and shepherd's pie. Oh, God damn it. I thought it would just let me eat any meat, like a burger or a steak. Okay. Well, now we know. Thank you. Gary Katzer says, as a true practicing Catholic, Gary Katzer says, a true practicing Catholic does not eat meat for any reason on Friday during Lent. You can ask for, or the church may provide, special dispensation for certain things from the church. There is no canon reason for not eating meat on Fridays during Lent, and in modern days it makes no logical sense. The original doctrine was that Catholics were not to eat meat on any Friday, and then it was changed to just during Lent. It was meant to be a sacrifice due to meat being a luxury in the past, whereas now fish and seafood are more expensive than beef or pork. Eating meat on Friday is not a sin, it's just not smiled upon, much as pickles is not smiled upon. Wait, I mean as much as pickles are not smiled upon. Thank you, Gary. Dear Mr. O'Prey, are you out of your frickin' mind? There is most certainly a Chateau Picard vineyard winery in Bordeaux, France. In fact, your old boss worked with us to import our wine into the States until you dummies decided to discontinue importing our wine and ramped up those trashy brands, Jägermeister, Fireball, Cinnamon Whiskey, Screwball, Peanut Butter Whiskey. I hope you're happy with your stupid choices. Rather than having a wonderful imported wine, if any of you more intelligent audience have a refined palate, have them check out Chateau Picard here. Where is the real Chateau Picard? I don't think it's as real as it claims to be. And also, we never dealt with Fireball. That was a different company. And this is just somebody who needed to write out needed to get paid 3 cents a word for a blog post. Is Chateau Picard real? No, you idiot. There is no real Picard. Jean-Luc's family vineyard is located in Burgundy, France. So the first detail that's interesting is the fact that the winery is called Chateau Picard. Not unusual to find wineries named Chateau all over the world. Chateau Montelena in California, Chateau des Chaumains in Nigeria, and a large majority of wineries in Bordeaux are called Chateau. It's a little unusual. Most wineries in Burgundy are called Domanes. So you see, there is no real Chateau. Dear Bob, why are Democrats outraged by the Biden administration saying they will ban TikTok, but when Trump was going to do it, it was a violation of free speech? Why would I ask liberals? Why would I ask liberals can't remember anything that makes them look like fools? I have no idea. I have no idea. I'm just surprised TikTok is still going. TikTok isn't a thing for me. I don't think I've ever signed up for TikTok, and at this point, I don't plan to. Dear Bob, are you the St. Patrick of streaming? You seem to have driven out a pretty significant snake from the no. Dear Bob, WTF is a Vulcan thug. Since when did Vulcans become thugs? Really, son of a bitch. Since Terry Metalis. Actually, well, since a thug, yes, since Terry Metalis. Though back in Deep Space Nine, we did have an actual Vulcan, a cold, logical Vulcan, a Vulcan woman who was buying weapons from Quark for the Maquis. She was an actual logical Vulcan criminal. She used logic. Dear Bob, there are many things that are difficult to say. 3 of the hardest things to say are, I was wrong, I'm sorry, and Worcestershire. Worcestershire. Mama Pray knew it. Worcestershire. Gary Katzer, the real Gary Katzer, says, not that my opinion counts for much, but having the subject of a video be closer to the beginning of said video would be preferable to me. But then again, I suck at crosswords and Wordle means nothing to me. I have to look up the National Day of Shit for work, so it's repetitious to me. And the rest of it is just chaff in the way of what the meaning for Monday and Friday streams were to me. There's a reason why I didn't miss Monday and Friday stream, but Tuesday to Thursday were miserable if it happened. Well, the subject of a video, I agree. I don't know what you want about Dear Bops, but yeah, the subject of a video. And there have been days where I completely forgotten to get to the subject of the video. So that is true, and I apologize when that happens. Todd Jennings says they didn't have Berto Prey in the list of criminals. O'Connor, yes, the outrageous O'Connor. John DeMarco says, yeah, that guy was outrageous. Todd Jennings says the great O'Connor. Gorilla says the outrageous O'Connor. Star Trek Nitpicker says O'Connor was a Ferengi. No, he wasn't. Richie Poole says, why hasn't Mamo Prey pinched you yet, bird? I don't know. Todd Jennings says Sean O'Hennessy. Todd Jennings, as long as the bishop's yearning meat doesn't start eyeing the choir boys. Todd Jennings says Rio Picard, the Picard River. TikTok is second nature. Tom Spot says Vulcan Thug is just as bad as logic extremists. John DeMarco says she used logic while modern Vulcan Thug has Vulcan writing tattooed on his face. Well, it's very logical to have a face tattoo. And Gorilla says, don't forget the serial killer Vulcan. Yep, he also. He was mentally disturbed, says John. Richie Poole says, Dear Bob is not the subject of bed live streams. That is true. Gorilla's Random Thought says it's inaccurate to call him a serial killer. He was suffering from a form of PTSD more than anything. Oh, I think it's both. He was definitely a serial killer. He was a serial killer because he was suffering from PTSD. It doesn't not make him a serial killer. Dear Bob, why are we ignoring the elephant in the room? Would Beverly not have gone through the change by the time she would have gotten knocked up from Picard? Menopause is a real thing. I think what we're saying is that given it's the future and humans live a lot longer, that it's normal for women, perhaps through the use of modern medicine or better, better food, better nutrition, that they've been able to extend the length of human female fertility. Now, what I don't understand is, would women want to extend their fertility if they could? Like, I would think the only reasons women would want to extend their fertility is if they really wanted to have more babies at an old age for some reason. And Beverly, having already had a child, just doesn't strike me as someone who really wanted more. But maybe she did. If this was an episode of Maury Povich, not only would he say that Jean-Luc is not the father, Beverly's not even the mother. Dear Bob, as pro-abortion as the writers of Star Trek, and have been for a long time, am I not the only one who doesn't believe that Beverly would not have chosen to end the pregnancy? It's a choice after all, not a child. Well, I don't know. Beverly might have been pro-life. Surprising number of people on TNG were pro-life. For being a very quote unquote liberal show, the characters often turn out to be pro-life. Dear Bob, can I sue someone who videotaped me in public and then uploads it? You can sue anyone you want. Are you going to win? Probably not. If in public you don't have what's called an expectation of privacy. So, dear Bob, does Crusher have a magical vagina that only pushes out prodigy children? Well, I guess Wesley was certainly special since he turned into a traveler. Jack obviously has something special about him. And let's face it, she did have sex multiple times with a ghost. So maybe there is something there. Maybe there's something to that. Dear Bob, Star Trek Picard Season 3, Episode 6, Worf and Rafi with Picard. Yes, I saw the preview. Dear Bob O. B. Hi, Joe. We wanted to invite you to the new and improved Fire Island Resort and Spa. It's almost right next door for you, and we want to invite you and a friend to spend a weekend at our beautiful facility. Why don't you and your friend Gary come check us out? Hortense Waffle. Yeah, not a big Fire Island fan, even when I could walk. But thank you. Why don't you send that to someone else. Deej might enjoy it, or LDG. Um, Richie Pools says, Dear Bob is not the subject of bed life streams. I read that. Dan Benz is a Vulcan rapper. That would be interesting. John DeMarco says there's a discussion between Chakotay and his vision dad that was very pro-life in nature when he thought Seska's kid was his. Thomas Potts says a guy sued Buffalo Wild Wings claiming they lied and their boneless chicken tenders are chicken nuggets. Dan Van says people don't like it when you look out the window and take a photo. They might not like it, but it doesn't make it illegal. Hakeem says a guy sued McDonald's saying they made him fat. I say you can sue anybody for anything. I don't like the system, but it is what it is. Jedi Bill says hey to Thomas, and Thomas says hello to Jedi Bill. And that, guys, was the final Dear Bob for today. Thank you all so much for hanging out. I appreciate it. It is coming up on 7. Wow, it was a long one today. I hope you enjoyed the stream. I am going to be working on my 5 nitpicks for Picard video. Hopefully get it out tomorrow. We'll see. And Sunday, we'll go back to Twilight Zone. Last Sunday, I missed it. We're going to try very, very hard to do Twilight Zone this Sunday, again at 2:30 p.m. Eastern. So that still might be an hour different for you guys in Europe or elsewhere outside the United States. Just keep it in mind. And I'll see you all soon. Kapla all, bird out.